Dear guests and colleagues from Bellona Foundation, thank you for having me here today. I represent DiXi Group, which consistently advocates sanctions against the Russian energy sector and points out a big gap in the sanctions policy. It is the nuclear energy segment. Firstly, I would like to thank Norway for its significant support to Ukraine, to our energy sector. It is really critical for ensuring the security of electricity and gas supplies for the country's population. It is thanks to such strong support from our partners, or would even say friends, that we managed to fight and hold on firmly on the energy front. I will share my screen. I hope you can see my presentation now. Yeah?
We can see it well. Thank you.
But I see that it is a slide. I share you the first slide. Yeah, okay. One sec. I'm here to discuss critical issue, how to effectively sanction Rosatom is Russian nuclear and defense giant. We try to find ways to curb its financial flows and address the strategic risks of global expansion. Over the next 15 minutes, I'll outline Rosatom's influence, the risk of continued business with it, and actionable steps to counter its dominance, all rooted in the need for energy security, geopolitical stability, and environmental safety. So let's start with the scale of Rosatom's influence. Rosatom is not just a nuclear energy company, as the speakers before me have already said. It's a cornerstone of Russia's economy and military-industrial complex. Rosatom's income from international activities is growing every year. Of course, this is partly because countries that are dependent on Russian nuclear fuel supplies after the start of the full-scale invasion have pursued a policy of accumulating fuel assemblies in order to find themselves in a situation in order not to find themselves in a situation where supplies will be interrupted. However, the European Union's deep dependence on Rosatom continues to persist, and this continues to be a concern. Nowhere is Rosatom's grip more evident than in Europe. The European Union's nuclear power plants with VVR type of reactors still rely on Russian nuclear fuel, and France has a strong cooperation with Rosatom in enrichment uranium supplies. In 2024, the EU imported 700 million euro worth of Russian uranium products. This dependency isn't just economic, it's a strategic vulnerability, and every euro spent on Russian fuel strengthens Rosatom and, by extension, Russia's war machine. But now I want to demonstrate something that even more disturbing. As Dmitry Gorchakov said in his speech previously, Rosatom has not concluded any new agreements on the construction of nuclear power plants, except of Uzbekistan. But I would like to note that this does not mean that Rosatom is not trying to expand. We see that Rosatom is actively continuing its expansion. DiXi Group has investigated how many new supply agreements, potential cooperation agreements, memorandums, roadmaps, as well as different intergovernmental agreements that provide for cooperation in the field of nuclear energy were signed during the last 3 years. Rosatom's global expansion is equally alarming. In 2022, 2023, and 2024, it signed agreements with countries like Uzbekistan, Turkey, Kyrgyzstan, Belarus, Serbia, Syria, offering cheap technologies, state-backed loans to secure long-term influence. For instance, in 2024, Uzbekistan signed a deal for a new nuclear power plant. and Turkey deepened its ties through the AKU project. These deals locked countries into decades of dependency. Strikingly, many of these nations, Belarus, Syria, and others, either voted against or abstained from United Nations General Assembly resolution adopted in July 2024. This resolution, titled Safety and Security of Ukraine's Nuclear Facilities, including Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, demanding that Russia immediately returns the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant to Ukraine's full control and withdraw its military personnel. Passed with 99 votes in favor, 9 against, and 60 abstentions, it exposed a divide. Countries expanding ties with Rosatom often aligned with Russia's interests, revealing Rosatom's role as a tool of political influence. This isn't coincidence, it's evidence of how Rosatom's deals buy loyalty, undermining global nuclear safety and accountability. I can just scroll these pictures and be amazed as how little Ukrainians' experience is known in the world. It is clear that all the lessons from the Ukrainian case have not yet been learned. The weak reaction of the world to the threats of nuclear safety that Russia has created in Ukraine will likely continue to show signs. Therefore, our mission is to provide as much information as possible about the activities of Rosatom and its close cooperation with the state and military machine. The risks of continuing business with Rosatom are profound. First, energy security. European Union's reliance on Rosatom nuclear fuel threatens stability as Russia has weaponized energy supplies. Second, political dependence. As seen in United Nations voting patterns, it confirms this idea. Third, the most concerning is military security. Rosatom's subsidiaries are embedded in Russia's military complex. According to Alexei Likhachev, Rosatom's head, the company meets 100% of its military obligations, including nuclear weapons production. Every contract with Rosatom funds Russia's aggression, including its occupation of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. A glaring example, which was mentioned previously, is Lingen, Germany, where a plant is about to produce nuclear fuel with Rosatom's subsidiary, 12, using Russian technology, Russian license, and Russian equipment. As reported, French company Framatome is hosting Russian specialists in Germany to convert this facility. This isn't just cooperation, it's dependency. It's relying on Russian know-how, machinery, personnel. We understand that Rosatom is just not about reactors. Rosatom's dual-use technologies used for both civilian and military purposes make it an unique threat. For example, subsidiaries like Giredmet or Siberian chemical plant produce materials like molybdenum trioxide and ytterbium fiber lasers, which support Russia's nuclear arsenal and other weapon systems. This list, which is presented on the slide, is far from complete. We are currently finalizing our research on potential ties of Rosatom's structures with the military sector, and the full list of such companies will be presented as a proposal for the imposition of sanctions at the level of the broadest possible coalition of partners. One more point is Rosatom's non-core acquisitions amplify its threat. In 2023, for example, it acquired MCST, Moscow Center of Spark Technologies, developer of Russia's Elbrus processor, through its subsidiary NPO Critical Information Systems to bolster domestic electronics amid sanctions. In 2022, also Rosatom's Renera increased its stake in South Korea's Enertech, a lithium-ion battery developer, from more than 49% to more than 98%. These technologies, processor and batteries, are critical not just for civilian use, but for military applications, powering drones, missiles, and communication system. Even non-experts can see that such acquisitions enhance Russia's military capabilities, securing advanced technology that would take years to replicate. These moves show Rosatom's ambition to dominate critical technologies in Russia, strengthening Russia's resilience against sanctions and its war machine. Rosatom influence extends to the International Atomic Energy Agency, where Russian officials like Mikhail Chudakov, Deputy Director General, and also his head of Nuclear Energy Department, play pivotal roles. A 20-year Rosatom's veteran Chudakov, his position raises concerns about conflicts of interest, especially given Rosatom's control over Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. In March 2022, Greenpeace International demanded his removal, citing risks to IAEA, impartially a call Switzerland supported. Despite this, in November 2024, IAEA redesigned Rosatom Technical Academy as a collaborating center, expanding cooperation on small modular reactors and nuclear security, with Chudakov signing the agreement. This access to sensitive IAEA data allows Rosatom to tailor its global offerings, outcompeting Western firms, while compromising nuclear safety oversight. Rosatom's sway over the IAEA undermines trust in the agency's ability to address crises, like the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, objectively. So, what needs to be done? The path forward requires bold, coordinated action. First, we need targeted sanctions on Rosatom subsidiaries that are not critical to nuclear power plant maintenance, like Giremet or Centratech, which supply dual-use goods. To be honest, it's almost 500 companies and organizations, except perhaps Atomstroy export. All that companies have to be sanctioned. The EU must also ban new projects with Rosatom, like the new production line in Lincoln plant. This will send a clear signal to Rosatom about his presence in Europe. Second, we must develop alternative supply chains. Companies like Westinghouse and USA are already producing and cooperating to produce nuclear fuel for VVR reactors. Scaling these efforts can break Russia's monopoly. Third, the EU should prohibit supplying technologies and components for Russian-designed plants, cutting off Rosatom's access to Western innovations. Fourth, we need technological isolation. This means halting cooperation on new nuclear technologies like small modular reactors and ending scientific collaborations with Russia. Fifth, we must reduce Russia's influence in the IAEA, removing Russian officials from leadership roles and restricting their access to sensitive data is essential to restore the agency's credibility. Six, we need synchronized global sanctions. The EU, US, and allies must align to target Rosatom's military-linked entities. And finally, we must invest in domestic and international capacities for uranium conversion, enrichment, and waste management to diversify imports and ensure sustainable nuclear energy. And this path must be irreversible. Any renewal of cooperation with the Kremlin in the energy sector is a threat. By pushing for sanctions and alternatives, we can mitigate these risks while advancing a cleaner, safer energy future. So, in closing, every contract, every euro fuels a regime that undermines global security. We should act decisively, sanction Rosatom, diversify our energy sources, and reclaim control over our nuclear future. So this way, together, we can stop the financial flows to Russia and build a world where energy is a force for peace and not for conflict. Thank you.